You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact that you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. They make it super simple. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with coverage options tailored to your choices. Plus, you'll see which discounts you may qualify for, like the online quote discount or savings for paying in full. In fact, 99% of Progressive Auto customers earn at least one discount. See if you could save when you switch to Progressive. You'll feel good about making a savvy choice. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little extra cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Hi, I'm Allie Roper, the host of the Wiser World podcast. If you've ever read a headline and thought, wait, how did we get here? This podcast is for you. I break down world history in a simple, approachable way for busy people who want real context, not just sound bites. If you want to start understanding how world history affects current events, listen to Wiser World wherever you get your podcasts.
Nesta, Gwen, and Emery are kidnapped from their beds and thrown into the Blood Rite. Cassian, out of his mind with worry, is sent with Azriel to the human lands to rescue Eris, who has been taken by Queen Brialyn. Stripped of weapons, magic, and their fey healing, Nesta awakens in the forest with nothing more than her nightgown on her back, forced to make her first kill in self-defense, with mysterious weapons littered throughout the forest. Separated and hunted, Nesta searches for her vulnerable friends. Though she finds an unconscious Emery nearly drowned in the river, Gwen comes to their rescue when Nesta and Emery are captured by Bellius and his Illyrian friends. Reunited with little food and water, the three fight their way to the base of Ramiel and make a choice, not just to survive the Blood Rite, but to win.
Hey there, we're Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, your book besties who take the novels you love seriously.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
And we bring the tools of literary analysis to the women-written novels lighting up book talk, from romance to romantasy. Think of it as your favorite fandom books treated with the same respect you'd give a classic in literature class, just with more humor and less homework.
For you.
For you. I hope you guys are happy.
Each season, we deep dive into one book, breaking down themes, imagery, and character motivations. Together, we combine 13 years of literary academic training with our fandom love to help you see your favorite books in a whole new way. We also analyze the story through two different literary lenses, giving you more than one way to look at the text.
This week, we're discussing Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Silver Flames, the most divisive book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series. In this episode, we cover chapters 64 through 68.
For a complete list of episodes and the chapter breakdowns, be sure to check out our Instagram at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Before we dive in, let's talk about Spilt. Spoilers, perspective, interpretation, language, themes.
Spoilers. This episode covers A Court of Silver Flames with full context from the preceding books in the ACOTAR series. That includes Thorns and Roses, Mist and Fury, Wings and Ruin, and Frost and Starlight. If you haven't read those, this is your only spoiler warning. Anything in SJM's other series will be saved for our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks episode that airs tomorrow.
Perspective and interpretation. These are just our takes, our personal readings of the text. We don't speak for Sarah J. Maas, and we know you'll have your own interpretations too. We love hearing them, so share away.
Language. We use explicit language. We don't care. So please be aware of your surroundings.
Luckily, we've never had anyone, God, knock on wood, choi, comment, be like, these girls are great, but they cuss a lot.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
should let my mom know. No one's complained about that yet. Take that, Mom. I could cuss more. Themes. We will discuss tough topics like sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death. We will do our best to flag heavier moments where we can, but listener discretion is advised, particularly this episode.
As always, let's keep the conversation going. Tag us, DM us, or use the submission form on our website. And if you would like more exclusive content and live streams, you'll find us over at patreon.com/ Book Talk for Book Talk.
Can't get enough of analysis? Make sure to check out the Subtext Society Journal, where we write think pieces discussing the romance and romantasy genres as a whole, the ongoing conversations in the bookish community, and insights into the publishing world. Join us over at the subtextsocietyjournal.substack.com.
Each week, we ask ourselves a question, and this week, we're wondering, does the emotional climax of A Court of Silver Flames match the physical climax of the story?
Themes we see in this section include revealing truths and loss of innocence. This is the penultimate episode. It's exciting. As I like to call it, this is the senioritis episode.
This is the senioritis episode, and you know what? It was gloriously short by comparison to some of our other episodes.
It's so nice. So may we have no interesting banter. May there be no additional thoughts. And let this be the shortest, most boring episode of the batch.
We don't wish that for you all. We wish that for us, ourselves.
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy it. I want us to get through it.
But still enjoying it.
Yeah.
This is sounds like very depressing sex.
You know what? I really should have had another Diet Coke during lunch because I'm all of a sudden tired.
I told you we needed another Diet Coke.
Food coma is hitting hard.
I know.
All right. Chapter 64. We are at the start of the blood rite. Nesta and her friends have been taken from their beds by the Illyrians, and Nesta is waking up to find herself in they call it a drop zone?
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Now, naturally, when Nesta wakes up, she has a headache because, they use some sort of drug to knock her out. She thinks to herself that someone had, quote, taken a hammer to her head, was still pounding on it, apparently. Now, this may seem insignificant. She's just talking about a headache. But there has been so much allusion to forging, to steel, to weapons. I can't help myself. Nesta is being forged and honed. The blood rite is a necessary step in that forging, in that refining of her as a deadly weapon, and therefore the metaphor used to describe her headache is reinforcing that viewpoint, at least from my perspective.
Love that. Good job. Nesta wakes up, after her pounding headache, which honestly I understand because sometimes I clench my teeth too hard in my sleep and I wake up with a headache. Very similar situations. But she realizes that she's in the blood rite. Quote, hard, cold ground lay beneath her bare legs, pine needles poking through the thin material of her nightgown. Chill, blood-icing wind carried all those male scents above a tidal of snow and pine and dirt. Great use of description, right? This is one of those moments where you can smell it, you can see it, you can feel it. SJM is getting all of your sensories here with Nesta, and it's making the reader's senses stand on edge. Nesta's senses are on edge. And I also like about this whole sequence, and again, we're going into the trigger warning, a lot of talk about sexual assault in this episode, but SJM doesn't shy around it, and there's no, all these men are here, I'm only worried about death. That's not the reality of the situation. And things like highlighting the nightgown and the scent of the men, it starts to put that fear into Nesta and the reader. And the fear just becomes even more tangible. Quote, she knew her shaking wasn't entirely from the cold. Whatever time she had wouldn't last long. The others would soon stir and find her standing among them in nothing but a nightgown without weapons. SJM does not skirt around the issue. There is the threat of sexual violence. Nesta knows she would not die. At all. Not at first. Not for a while. And I feel like a lot of times other books, there'll be scenarios where the woman's taken and there's just a bunch of men. And I get annoyed. I'm like, how is she not concerned about this? That would be the first thing I'm thinking about. And it's a very visceral fear that I feel like a lot of women could relate to, of just being hyper aware of all the men surrounding you. And we're going to get a lot of talk about this nightgown, and it's going to represent and have a lot of different meanings to it.
I think it's also worth noting there is obviously a chance of death here. Sometimes the idea of sexual assault is more scary than death because at least with death, you don't have to survive it. You're dead.
The whole choose bear or choose the man. Well, the worst thing that happens with the bear is you die.
Now, the quote that Jack just read is setting up the scene so that Nesta and her friends, who are similarly dressed and situated, are as vulnerable as possible. And I think what SJM does well in this is Nesta feels the way men would view her in this instance. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter that she's trained, she's a warrior, she knows how to view a sword. A man would view her as something to be brutalized regardless. And the lack of her armor, the lack of her weapons on her makes her more conscious of that potential brutalization.
Yep.
And so we feel that fear with her. And ultimately, Nesta, Emery, Gwyn, they are prey. They are, without intending to, practically inviting men or males to take advantage of them because of the current state of their vulnerability. Or at least that's how a man would view it,
I was about to say, I'm like, we're not saying that that's what it is.
That's not what we're saying.
No.
But that's how these Illyrian males will likely view it. And they allude to as well. Now, in her time of need, Nesta is channeling Cassian and all the knowledge he's imparted to her throughout their time together. Quote, trees. She could find the mossy side of trees, Cassian had said. North would lie that way. What I appreciate is that Nesta thinks of Cassian and his lesson before she ever thinks about, is he worried about me? Is he going to come save me? She solely focuses on, what has he taught me about survival? She has so many more important things to worry about than his feelings.
Yeah.
And she's good about keeping that at the forefront.
It is plain and clear that men are always more than a threat of death, like we've said. And in a book series where SJM really has us trust men, we love these bat boys, we trust them. And I don't know, maybe this is just a me thing, but like, you know, is Tamlin an abusive person? Yes. Do I think Tamlin would have raped Farah? I personally don't think so. Someone is probably going to fight me on that, and that is okay and valid. I'm not giving a definitive like here, but I will say that I like, you know, when I remember Mist and Fury, Farah wasn't worried about sexual assault. And I think when it comes to the men in SJM's world, it's just not something that we think about. It's great. We love that. So in a book series where we trust the men, SJM has to really deliver when it comes to a man that we don't trust, because she keeps providing us all these great guys. And yet she delivers, quote, but she recognized that gleam in his eye, the predatory intent and cruel amusement, knew what it meant when his stare dipped to her nightgown, her breasts peaked against the frigid cold, her bare legs. It's one of those looks that I think every single woman can instantly imagine and know. And it's fascinating. It's horrible. It's something that women just know.
What I appreciate about the way that this is written is that in any other context, if you just read, knew what it meant when his stare dipped to her nightgown, her breast peaked against the frigid cold, her bare legs, that could be read as an intimate scene out of context, right? Just with the little bit of context about what Nesta sees in him changes the meaning of it entirely. She uses the same details, though. The details have not differed. It is only the context that has changed. And I think that's important for all the imagery we're going to see throughout this sequence in the Blood Rite. And I just want to mention it, put a pin in it, we'll come back.
We now go into Cassian's point of view, and I've got some notes. But before those notes, let's go into where Cassian's at mentally. Quote, his family had arrived, and they all surrounded him in the wrecked bedroom of Emery's house. So here's Cassian freaking out. Nesta's gone. He can tell that, you know, they were taken. Everyone starts showing up. Mor, Amren, Farah, Azriel, Rhys, right? And he views it as, my family is here. This is a moment of crisis. You want your family there, which is why it stings so much when Rhys and Farah play High Lord, High Lady. Because right now Cassian needs his family, and what he gets is the Night Court. The truth then comes out about Rhys and Farah's bargain for the first time in this entire book. I agree with Amren. Quote, fools, Amren hissed. Romantic, idealistic fools. Rhys turned bleak eyes to her. I'm personally happy that this didn't come out until now, because I think that it's important that the focus has been on getting Farah help and just focus on her, right? Like, they don't want to lose her. I think that if they had introduced the Rhys aspect of it, it would have
been about him.
Yeah, it would have been about him. Like, well, we need to save him too. Like, the true distress has been focused on Farah, and I appreciate that. Cassian, throughout all this, is like, great. we're all here, guys. So sorry that you did a stupid blood bond or death bargain. You're going to die. But like, how about my mate? She's over here. Let's go save her. And he's willing to. And then we, the reader, find out that it's impossible because whoever saves Nesta will be hunted down and killed, and Nesta will be killed, and not even Rhys and Farah are able to do anything, and their hands are tied. But that's okay because they have a job for him to go check on Eris being kidnapped. Okay, so here are my general thoughts about the scene. I know that SJM said she needed to find something for Cassian to do because she said, I know Cassian cannot just sit around and wait for Nesta to come out of the blood rite. There needed to be something. And I am not going to fight the plot reasons that he's gone. Is it the best reason? Maybe not, but that's not what I'm going to look into. What I really want to specifically discuss and what I think that readers are picking up on is the fact that there is zero fight for Nesta from anyone. And everyone accepts the situation very quickly, except for Cassian. Cassian's freaking out. But we never get Farah freaking out. We never get Farah going, that's my sister. If he's like, that's that's Nesta. And Farah goes, yeah, my sister. You think I'm not worried about my sister? Like you never get anyone else claiming Nesta. And I feel like as a reader, the lack of reaction and the lack of concern for Nesta or just accepting that, you know what, she's trained. She's done well. Like, you've trained her, Cassian. It's fine. It makes it feel like she was so easy to be left behind. And in an entire book where it's been about Nesta getting respect and getting accepted back into this group again, it's hard to not be like, oh, you guys still don't care about her when she's changed so much.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that I've rationalized it in my mind. Not that their reactions are acceptable, but that this moment, their reactions are being seen through Cassian's eyes. And Cassian, as Nesta's mate, is going to have a very specific perspective. And so it's not surprising that everyone's reaction is insufficient through the eyes of Cassian.
Yeah.
He's naturally going to go feral. He's naturally going to need to protect. No one else, no matter how they reacted, would ever be enough to take care of her if they are not him. I agree. I wish Feyre had expressed more concern. I personally think the fact that Feyre goes into labor is because of her distress around Nesta, because she is premature.
Yeah. I wish there was a better connection. I mean, maybe we read next week and we're like, oh my God, yay. It feels like there was more a tizzy of when Elaine was taken by the cauldron,
Yes.
There was more fanfare around that of like, no, not. And I think you make a great point that no one will ever be as concerned as Cassian because that's his mate. And you make a really good point. I think that the acceptance and Farah's lack of verbal freaking out, it just needed that one little umph. And I think that a lot of readers have issues, and they don't say that specifically. They just have issues with the ending of it. And I think that this is my deduction of one of those moments that might be one of those reasons. But I do really like your point that no one was ever going to have a big enough reaction for Cassian.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that stood out to me in this scene is the fact that Cassian does notice that Rhys's eyes are bleak when he looks at Cassian. And I think, to me, and again, I'm doing a lot of inferring, I do think SJM could have done more about this, but there is this level of powerlessness for Feyre and Rhys that they brought upon themselves.
Yeah.
They could try harder, and possibly they would have tried harder if they did not have this death bargain hanging over their heads. And right now, that is truly limiting both of them. And that's why it's coming out in this moment. So
I wonder if the death bargain in this moment and discovering it lessens their concern, or as a reader makes it almost seem not as intense, like they're concerned for Nesta, because the conversation really shifts from Nesta into how can the two of you been so stupid? Now Rhys's life is at risk. What are we going to do there?
Right.
Like it just turned into like another person that they're concerned about.
Right. And it took away from the purpose of being here, which is Nesta.
Yeah. One of the reasons why the inner circle are pretty quick to move past their concern for Nesta is because Cassian trained her, guys. It's fine. Quote, I trained Nesta well, trained them all well. So Cassian even recognizes that he trained them well. And I know that we are just trying to establish plot and explain why he's not like going in there and guns a-blazing. So a lot of the thing that people have issues with is Nesta, Emery, and Gwen, they all win the blood right. For women who only been training for a little bit compared to these giant, massive male warriors, is it even possible, right? That's not even my concern. Like, I don't even care about that. I think there's like room for argument there. It's the acceptance of like, yeah, okay, I train them. Where it's like, or you could have been like, I did what I can. I'm freaking out. There's so many other things I didn't teach her. You know, I think those concerns. But if Cassian had been doubting himself, then the reader would have been doubting Nesta. And I think that's part of the reason.
I agree. From a writing perspective, SJM has to give us every clue and reassurance that these women are capable of passing the blood right. So Cassian's confidence, his self-assurance that he trained them well. Granted, this is a self-soothing thing that he's doing as well. But the fact that he doesn't doubt it, to your point, is important and is meant to reassure us as the reader and justify the outcome at the end of the book.
I wonder how it would have read if we had him worried and concerned. If it was like worth the risk to do that, and if it would have read like, wow, she really managed to fight the odds versus it was expected that she'd won.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know unless you knew, but it's just, I'm more curious. As a writer, that's what I would be stuck on is what's more impactful. So think about that.
Even if Valkyrie needs a pause, we'll be right back.
Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use. Now, Nesta's awake, right? And she sees a knife at a tree, and then she sees this other guy, and the other guy looks at her, and then she looks at the guy, and then they go running after the knife, and they start falling down the hill. But don't worry, because she kills him. Quote, Nesta spat a mouthful of blood onto the dry stones. Her nightgown was covered in blood and dirt, her skin raw and stinging, but she was alive, and the male was not. I do believe that this is her first legit kill. Honestly, arguably, there might be a different kill. No, because she stabs him in the neck, so that was pretty unintentional. I was going to be like, maybe it was like a falling down the hill accident, but this was used her own hands kill. And I think it's very significant that she does this in a nightgown because she's entirely stripped down. She's entirely vulnerable and in many ways young and girlish, if that makes sense. Nightgowns, I'm not saying that it's like reserved for little girls, but it is very girlish, right? You don't really talk about guys being in nightgowns. And to do this in that most vulnerable way is very interesting. And then the fact that her nightgown is bloody and dirty from her first kill,
it shows the loss of innocence.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will, for the sake of those who are screaming in the background, her first kill was the King of Hybern. We're talking about as a trained warrior. This is her first kill.
And arguably, the King of Hybern was like already dead. Like she just kind of did the last final thing. I've had issues with them. You can't be like, hey, I've like peeled this potato, pinned this potato down. The potato's already ready to be cooked. You come over and you chop the potato, and I'm like, thanks for peeling the potato. I just, there's other better metaphors. I don't have them. Then, like a badass, Nesta changes her clothes. Quote, Nesta then stripped off his clothes, item by item, including his boots. She dressed herself with cold efficiency, chucking off the bloody gown and dropping it onto the male's face in a mockery of a funeral shroud, then tucked the knife into the belt she cinched as tight as it would go. The clothes hung off her, and the 2 big boots might be a liability, but it was better than the nightgown. So first she's discarding the nightgown and she's using it as a death shroud. Like, I love that. Again, if this nightgown represents vulnerability, if it represents innocence, and that it's something that would make her vulnerable and make her an easy victim for sexual assault, it is the thing that ends up covering her eyes.
Yeah, just to echo what you're saying, it's very poetic because what has happened is the tables have turned. The symbol of her vulnerability and capacity for victimization has now become the attacker's vulnerability and the attacker's state of being brutalized by Nesta. It's satisfying. It's a satisfying turn of events for this image of female vulnerability to be used to mock him at the end.
Yeah.
I just think it's lovely.
It's like a mojito.
A mojito?
Yeah, it's refreshing. It's nice.
I don't like mojitos.
Really?
I don't like rum.
Oh. But you like mint.
I don't like rum.
Okay. All right. We all learned a lot today. So the next part I want to circle back to that quote is the fact that Nesta is getting dressed in Illyrian clothes with, quote, cold efficiency, and she is physically taking on the Illyrian warrior attitude, aka Cassian. And she has shed her final self, this identity, this person who survived in a nightgown. I mean, the first time we see her, she's just wearing a shirt, right? Like just in a different type of nightgown. But, we've seen her very much in these like bare bone clothing. And now here she is taking on a new identity as a warrior,
which I love. I do want to take a moment. I think that there is a point earlier in the novel where Nesta, after they start training with the swords, thinks about, what would it be like if they ever had to do their first kill?
Yeah.
And she wonders, would she and her friends be able to like actually go through with it? And what I like about the quote that you read is the fact that she's not thinking about that.
Yeah.
There's no time for mourning. There's no time to worry about who this male was, if he had family. It's more important to her that she survive and find her friends. Fuck whoever gets in her way, really. Let's take a sip. Moving into chapter 65. Nesta, for a brief moment, thinks, Cassian might come to save me. He's probably on his way now. And then she very quickly remembers, that's not possible. Quote, he couldn't rescue her. He'd informed her himself about the laws forbidding such a thing. He'd be executed, and so would she. Even Rhysand and Feyre couldn't stop it. Cassian wasn't coming to save her. No one was coming to save her, or Emery, or Gwyn. I don't know what it was about this quote. Actually, I do know what it is about this quote. When I read this quote, it really stuck out to me that the blood rite is a metaphor for Nesta's whole character arc in A Court of Silver Flames.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, at the beginning of the book, Nesta relied on Rhys and Feyre's money and status to, quote unquote, save her from her actions, from her gambling, from, any choices she made, she could not necessarily be punished for because she would be absolved by association to them. Then the inner circle tried to, quote unquote, save her with their intervention when they banished her to the House of Wind. Ultimately, at the end of the day, though, the only reason why Nesta has gotten as far as she has in this story, and the only reason why she is healing from her experiences and her choices, is the fact that she has made conscious choices to save herself. She has made decisions to take training seriously. She has made decisions to make friends. If she had never made those decisions, she would have never survived. And ultimately, she's able to survive the blood rite because symbolically, Nesta is able to mentally, emotionally save herself throughout the course of this novel. Whether or not she wins the blood rite is not the point. It's the fact that she's able to survive it because she has to save herself.
Yeah. To go even more into the parallels of it, she saves herself, but then her friends also save her and she saves her friends. Like, you know, the only ones that you can really be there are count on yourself and the people that are closest to you. So in the blood rite, Nesta and everyone cannot heal very quickly. Nesta, quote, would heal at a human mortal pace. For all intents and purposes, Nesta is back to being mortal, which is the one thing she was scared just chapters before about losing her humanity. That was the reason why she didn't want to call Cassian her mate, is because she was like, no, that's the last bit of me being a human. And I think it's beautiful and significant that now she's being forced back into human weakness and needs to rely on both like her human body, human strength, but with her Fae knowledge. So it is a merger of the two in this blood rite with Nesta.
It's also kind of like fate saying, you really think it was better being human?
Yeah.
Like, this is your wish is my command.
Yeah.
Like, suck it now.
It's like you manifested the wrong way. While walking around, Nesta has this beautiful realization on herself, right? Because she keeps being lost into this concept of being not just Fae, but being made. Quote, her throat tightened. She was herself a made thing, and yet she was a person too. The magic recognized her as a person and not a thing. She hadn't realized how badly she needed to be shown that distinction. She didn't need to be shown that distinction. I think the distinction happened because that's what she wanted it to be. I think if she were to been like, I'm a made object and celebrated that, maybe it wouldn't, like her power would have gone through. I think it does come a lot from inner self, but you know, I just love that she gets to feel like a person again.
I agree. And I do think it is beautiful that in this moment of crisis, she's able to find that silver lining. Yeah. Not that there's anything to be celebrated, but it's this idea of, oh, I didn't realize how important it was for me to know that I'm separate from my power. And the circumstances I'm in, no matter how shitty, have provided me that assurance, and that brings me peace.
Yeah.
Like, that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's, you know, hard for any of us to achieve in a moment of like difficulty, but can make difficulty worth going through when we're able to have that kind of self-awareness.
Yep.
Now, briefly, we leave Nesta's point of view and we get a snapshot of Cassian as he searches for Eris, along with Azrael in the human lands. Quote, it was an effort to stay focused, to keep flying, circling like vultures when his mind drifted to the northwest. I found the use of vultures to be fucking hilarious. And that's because it definitely comes across as being weighted with disdain in the way that it's expressed. Like, Cassian, in my view, feels shame and disgust with what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, vultures, yes, they're a symbol of death, but they're not active participants in death. They are passive. They wait for things to die.
Wow. Here we are, vulture stands, just here to, you know, bring the true light to vultures.
Yeah. But Cassian hates being passive. That is the last thing he wants to do right now. And in this situation, he's been reduced to the most passive predator on the planet, which, again, hilarious, very fitting. Also love the callback to the beginning of the book when Nesta likened him to a bird and told him to go perch on a chimney. It just, chef's kiss.
It's great. You know, don't be a vulture, guys. Don't be a passive, like, you know, just passerby or what, letting violence happen near you. Be a seagull.
Going in for the kill?
Just violent. They are violent.
Yeah.
They are predators, and I have had one steal food from me before.
No, I'm sorry.
It's probably dead now, and that's the only celebration I have. How long can seagulls
There are a
live?
bunch of seagulls in our area, by the way. I was driving home from seeing you, and there was a seagull standing in the middle of the road eating some discarded food.
What?
Yes.
I've never seen a seagull over here.
Oh, I see them all the time.
I never see seagulls. We're so far away.
I know. They've been in our area a lot lately.
Probably hearing me talk shit. No, I don't want them in our area. They are bastards. You know what bird needs more attention? Are the sky cats, which are pigeons.
You mean sky rats?
No, sky cats. They're just like little tiny. They're not sky rats. They have gotten a bad rep. They're not sky rats. They were pets. They were like everyone's cat. And then they just let their cats, like one day we were like, oh, we don't need you anymore. It's like if one day we were to like abandon all of our cats and just kick them out and let them survive.
I feel like we did that to rats.
No, rats were always evil. They brought the plague.
Yet people still have them as pets.
Those are not smart people. No offense to anyone who has a rat. I'm sure they're adorable. You don't need to send us a photo.
Jack does not want to see.
I'd rather not. No, thank you. Okay, so now we're going into chapter 66, and Nesta's looking for her friends, and she runs into a warrior, and it's another guy who's ready to kill her, and honestly, probably ready to do more, and Nesta stabs him in the balls, and it is just so satisfying. Quote, her mind slid into a place of cold and calm. She grabbed the bow, flung it away. As the male writhed on the ground, trying to wrench out the knife piercing his balls, she leaped upon it, shoving it in harder. His scream sent birds scattering from the pines. Oh, she
Ruthless.
Jumped on the blade, like just a good heave-ho into it. You know, and honestly, this blood rite is about fighting the fucking patriarchy too. You know, like it's literally fighting men and the patriarchy and sexual assault and all the fucking bullshit women have to go through. Women have to be judged all the time of you're not strong enough. They have to be judged with the whole threat of rape and murder. They have to, everything that's wrong with the world, both imaginary and real, is here in the blood rite. So I just love that it's like, you know, and she leaves him. She doesn't even kill him. She just like stabs him in the balls, waffle stomps it, and then moves on.
I mean, she could have also shattered his kneecaps just for fun, but
She's
the only note I have. But I agree. The blood rite symbolically is like the patriarchy because women aren't allowed in, right? This is a man's thing. And then they get to boast about it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Even if they sucked and, you know, pissed themselves along the way. Nobody needs to know that. But now they get to one-up them. And it is satisfying.
It so is.
Nesta then comes across some men who she overhears talking about Emery and how Emery escaped by throwing herself into the water. And in hearing about this, Nesta starts to go feral with rage. Quote, she should kill him for this. Fire those 2 arrows into 2 of them and kill them for hurting her friend. But if Emery had survived, she pushed off the tree, slipped to the next and the next, followed the river, her steps barely more than the whisper of water over stone. I point this moment out because I think it's a sign of growth for Nesta. She could have easily been overcome by her emotions and allowed those emotions to control her. Instead, she is able to exercise control over the emotions, something that most of these Illyrian males lack.
And real world males lack.
Also that. And she's able to prioritize Emery and Emery's safety over her own need for revenge. And that is growth. Nesta then finds Emery, who is unconscious in the river, bleeding, and it's freezing cold. Nesta strips down to prevent her clothes from getting wet or waterlogged, knowing that she basically has to make herself more vulnerable than ever before to go save her friend. The deliberate need to be naked, to be that vulnerable, is a metaphor for the selflessness of Nesta choosing to save Emery. In Nesta's mind, there's no question that she's going to save Emery. But Nesta did have a choice. Nesta could have left Emery and said, she's already dead. She's about to die.
Yeah.
I can't risk myself. I'll go find Gwyn. Instead, she is willing to do the absolute, like, strip herself down, leave clothes to go save her friend. And that is the ultimate selflessness, in my book.
Yeah.
Could I strip myself down and then strip you down and then drag us both through water twice? I don't know.
Okay. You say you don't know because of the strength or because you don't want to?
Not because I don't want to. I just don't know if I would survive. Like, would I survive? Would I end up killing us both?
Hey.
I don't know.
Hey, how much
I
did
would
you do
try.
your lat pull downs today?
I did do 100-pound lat pull downs
You
today.
can save us both. You can save us both. Did I tell you how much I was doing with the leg press machine? The one where you're upside down and you're pushing?
No.
415 pounds.
Wow.
So long as you're pulling something that's 100 pounds and I'm pushing something with my legs, I think we can survive this.
Okay. You are unconscious in this scenario.
It's in the water. I'm light.
Now, as Nesta wades through the water, it is as, quote, cold as the cauldron, cold as Nesta let the thought pass, willing it to drift by like a cloud, focused. Again, another sign of growth on Nesta's part. She's already in a really traumatizing situation. Naturally, it's going to call up other past traumas, including the cauldron. The cold association with the cauldron makes sense. It's the first thing we learn at the start of the novel. So for her to be able to practice her mind stilling, force the thought of the ultimate trauma that has occurred to her away, and focus on the present is massive.
I'm also concerned. I'm going back to the fact we were like, Nesta could have left her there. That wasn't even on my radar.
But that's
which means it would have been on your radar.
No, obviously not. But that's the point. It's not on your radar because it wasn't even on Nesta's radar either.
Right.
But it is an option.
Everything is an option. It's true. So Nesta's looking for shelter, and she runs into a warrior who knows who she is and is willing to help. When Nesta challenges him on this and says he wouldn't be punished if he decided to kill her, he says, quote, Farrah Cursebreaker would not forgive me for killing her sister. And I love that he references Farrah and not Reese, because this is a soldier who's showing both respect that it's Farrah Cursebreaker. She saved everyone, but also the fact that he's afraid of her. It's not like, well, Farrah Cursebreaker and her husband would kill me. There's another point where Nesta thinks he's only doing it for the politics. I'm like, bitch, of course he's only doing it for the politics. And for whatever random ass thing SJM's going to bring him back for in 5 books from now.
Right. Because we even get his name.
I know, right? Where I'm like Balthazar and I'm like, okay, Balthazar, we'll see you again one day. Nesta, Emery, and Balthazar. My note is even a character that will likely come back in a very random way in the future. All survive the night, and they find a bunch of dead Illyrians the next day. It's described where they walk out, they just poke their head out of the cave and they're just littered all over the floor. Quote, many of the warriors had pissed or shit themselves when the beast of the forest had found them. Finding a clean pair of pants was a tall order. SJM really loves keeping it real. Everyone will shit themselves, and it's humbling. It's we're all the same in death, unless you're a constipated girly, and, even then, death won't get that shit out.
We do also talk in previous ACOTAR seasons how pissing and watery bells and the like are all a sign of human weakness. Yep. And so the fact that these big, strong male Illyrian warriors have all pissed and shit themselves as these beasts have come upon them and killed them is highlighting the fact that despite all their bravado, they are weak. They are also mortal, as if death wasn't already making that clear. But it's the extra layer.
Take a sip. A brief visit to the House of Wind. Don't go anywhere.
When I moved in with my partner is when I realized how much effort she puts into her skincare. She spends so much time and money just on what she puts on her skin. But the one thing she doesn't invest in is our bedding.
Well, that's because you're now investing in it with Boll and Branch.
From their organic cotton sheets to their breathable pillows and comforters, Boll and Branch makes their bedding with ultra clean materials that are gentle on the skin and free from harsh chemicals.
Boll and Branch really feels like my first grown-up sheets, and you can really feel the difference with their signature sheet sets. Remember, these sheets are touching you for up to 8 hours every single night. You're going to want to have the best sheets possible. Have you noticed that the pockets of the fitted sheets are perfect for forming around the mattress?
This is the first set of sheets that I haven't had to help my partner put them on the bed because the pockets are too small. They are so easy to get on the bed.
These are honestly the first pair of sheets that I have that I don't wake up with my sheets halfway wrapped around me. They are durable, they are soft, and the longer you use them, the softer they become.
Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/booktalk with code BOOKTALK, BOOKTALK.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/BOOKTALK, and use code BOOKTALK to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. Amy, we were just in New York for BookCon, and did you notice that all of the New York girlies were wearing quince?
You're so right. They were stylish, street appropriate, but also business casual.
It's amazing how I was spotting some of Quince's staple pieces on the street. I can always spot one of their Mongolian cashmeres from a mile away because it's always so soft and so nice. Quince really spends time on making sure they give you the best quality clothing they can with premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra soft denim.
Their styles make getting dressed simpler. They make me feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together with tops that start at just $30. You can't beat that for work.
Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup.
Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/booktalk. We are in chapter 67, and Emery wakes up and they get walking and it's cold. And I understand that because it was 65 degrees and cloudy and windy yesterday in LA. And I have to say, it just hits different in LA, in California. You know, like 65 degrees in California is just different, right? You guys think you know, but you don't.
It's because we're blessed here with warm weather all the time.
I swear to God. Like, even when my cousin moved from Boston to California and I told her, I was like, oh, make sure you have like a good sweater for the winter. She was like, I just moved from Boston. Like, I'm fine. I'm used to intense cold. And I was like, I'm telling you, nippy 63 here just hits different. I don't know what to tell you, but it really does. Nesta would get it. So Nesta thinks, quote, if she survived, she never again complain about the summer heat, never again take for granted her coat and hat and gloves and that stupid scarf Cassian had made her wear out of her apartment all those months earlier. This is just a great way of reflecting and accepting her life, that it was good and that she abused her good life. And not that Nesta didn't know that. Like, I'm not saying like Nesta was like, I had no idea I had it so good. But, you know, to an extent, maybe. And I love that it really shows how much she didn't appreciate things before. Again, she knew that she abused it, but I don't think she really knew she didn't appreciate it. And now she does.
Well, and I mean, the fact that she's going back all the way to the start of this novel, thinking about the scarf Cassian made her wear, like, even in her lowest, she's like, I actually had a lot more than I realized, or I had it better than I realized.
Yep.
Now, one of the first things Nesta notices about the snow when she looks around is, quote, in the morning, they emerged to find blood mixed with the snow on the ground. Now, this is very much giving loss of virginity vibes to me. Think blood on white sheets. Doesn't help that we had all that nightgown imagery before and the constant threat of sexual assault. Like, so for me, anything sexual intercourse is on the brain when it comes to imagery.
I agree. I think this was spot on. When you told me about this, I was shooketh and upset that I didn't think about it.
Now, to allude back to what Jack was saying earlier, there is a loss of innocence here as Nesta and her friends are killing for the first time. And the fact that this is called the blood rite.
It is now very virginal.
It's very virginal. It's very like a woman getting her period for the first time, a
yeah.
woman losing her virginity. The irony, though, of this imagery is that the blood is actually from the Illyrian males, not from the women. Again, yes, on one hand, Nesta is losing her warrior innocence, right? These are her first warrior kills. This is her really stepping into becoming a warrior and leaving behind training, essentially. But there's also something, I keep using the word satisfying because it's true. There's something very satisfying about the fact that we have all this sexual imagery, but it is ultimately the men who are suffering. It is not the women at this point in the story that are the ones bleeding and being caused the most harm.
We love to see it.
Now, Nesta and Emery proceed on their way and they search for Gwyn, and eventually they come across a tree where Gwyn's nightgown is hanging, and a bunch of Illyrian males are nearby. Quote, "If Gwyn's nightgown was hanging from a tree, then Gwyn, to hell with reaching Ramiel, she'd spend the rest of the week here killing them all slowly." Now, unlike with Emery, Nesta's like, yep, time for killing, because Gwyn is the one who has suffered the most at the hands of men.
Yep.
We're taking our time here. Makes me think, and not for the first time, Nesta's really giving Rhys energy. And this really feels a la Rhys and the Ravens and Wings and Ruin, and how he took his time killing them.
I think everyone's allowed one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this. Like, I think women should be allowed like 3 murders in their life. And I think that's being very, like, conservative. I mean, honestly, we could do 3 in a year, and I think we'd still be still good. We're now back with Cassian, and he is struggling with Nesta being in the blood rite. Thank God. Someone needs to be. And he comes to his own conclusion. It's just another reaffirming that he just can't go. Quote, "And even if the laws had allowed it, he would never take that away from her, the chance to save herself." I believe in this sentiment. I agree with the sentiment. Do I also think we need a little bit more before we get to the sentiment? Me personally, yes. Maybe I feel that way because no one else really tried to get Nesta out or wasn't really concerned. So it just feels like another like chalk it up type of moment. And it's hard because I think this also shows his confidence in her. And I'm not convinced that we should have confidence in Nesta.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the questions that we asked our listeners and we'll discuss in our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks episode. Have Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn really earned what they're capable of in the blood rite? Now,
it's funny. Sorry, real fast. My answer to that is yes, but have they earned the confidence of others is no.
Yeah, and I have thoughts about that I'll share later. But I think I want to go back to the start of the quote that you were reading. Quote, "Nesta's fate was her own. She was strong enough to forge her own path, even through the horrors of the blood rite." Now, I like that Cassian recognizes for himself what Nesta has already recognized, that, like, she needs to save herself. I like that the language used reinforces the imagery of this forging, of this becoming a weapon. I do think, and what I would have liked to see had everyone else rallied to go save Nesta, that Cassian would have been the one to stop them, because he is the one that knows what she's capable of. I also understand, though, that that's not quite believable because he's also in mate mode.
Yeah.
So
he could have come. I agree. This is the decision that he should come to. Like, this is the moment where inevitably this beat, right, this point would have happened. The path that we took to get here, Nesta and Emery, like we were saying, are looking for Gwyn, and they're lured into the evil Illyrian camp, who's Emery's cousin, by the nightgown. You know, they're being drawn by innocence, and Nesta and Emery get captured, but then a giant monster comes out to fight the Illyrians while Nesta and Emery escape. And then we find out that it's actually Gwyn who lured out the monster. In fact, Gwyn has collected a bunch of weapons and has changed into different clothing, and she's been stalking the men this entire time. Quote, "I barely outran that one as I led it towards the camp. My timing was just good luck, though." I love that, you know, we were all most concerned about Gwyn. We may not know her backstory at this point, but we can guess, we can infer many things. And she's the one who's gone the most Rambo on all of them. Like, in my mind, she's like put dirt underneath her eyes, like just kind of like lines, tied her hair back, and is just like going from tree to tree, sniping people.
I don't think I've ever watched that movie?
I don't know if I have either.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
I know the zeitgeist of it, and then I know what I want Gwen to be doing.
Yeah. I would like to point out that the beast Gwen lures into the camp is described as part cat. You know what cats remind me of is the house, because the house and its energy is often described as cat-like. And that alone also makes me think of the mother, because Nesta's power comes from the cauldron. The cauldron was made by the mother. So, mother's involved. Now, there are more references to blood on the snow as the cat snake-like beast attacks the males. Quote, blood stained the snow around him in a wide circle. It's another loss of innocence we're experiencing, this time Gwen, who intentionally led the beast here to kill the males. Later, Emery comments that, quote, the mother watched over us, talking about, like, their situation, how they woke up before the men. Nesta could have sworn the charms on their bracelets let out a soft singing hum at that, just proving my point that the mother is around.
Good call. I just realized another thing that I think I would be happy about, and I'm upset now that I have not seen it, is Cassian blaming himself that she's even there. I would like more if I hadn't pushed Nesta, if I hadn't, handled that.
Made them do the qualifier.
Or even like the reason why they're there is because she was easy to kidnap, because she went to Emery's house because he said a really stupid, dumbass thing to her and she needed to get out.
Yeah. It's true.
Nesta could have banished Cassian from the House of Wind and been like, I'm staying the night there. But she needed to get so away from him, she had to go to her friend's house. Like, I would like a little bit more just anger and self-loathing is my only note. Thank you.
That's fair.
Gwen gets emotional, though, that they found her and that they went looking for her. And she's just touched that they did that. Like, she's like, oh my God, you came looking for me? And, quote, of course we did, Emery said, interlacing her hand with Gwen's, then Nesta's, and squeezing tightly. It's what sisters do. Two things are significant here. The first being that Nesta finding sisters that are not her actual sisters, right? Like, this is truly another, like, profound statement moment of the found family. And I also kind of like it because I feel like it's mimicking Cassian and Azriel and Rhys's relationship here. And we talk a lot about, like, three sisters for three brothers, and it's like, no, these are the three sisters to those three brothers. The Archeron sisters were never going to be the Bat Boys. Those are not the mimicking sisters. These are the mimicking sisters.
Yeah. Let's take a sip. We are now in chapter 68, and Emery tells Gwen and Nesta about how Ramiel is hard to climb as they prepare for the night. Quote, hard to reach, harder to climb. It's covered in jagged rock that slices you up like a cheese grater. Love the food reference. Also to know that they have cheese graters. Wasn't quite sure. But also, the real point of my note is that this comparing of the Fae and nature to a cheese and a grater, to cheese and a grater, just emphasizes how weak the Fae are.
Cheese and a grater.
Comparing the Fae to cheese and nature to graters, the Fae are weak. That's all I'm saying.
Why are we talking about cheese? I've recently discovered that it hurts my tummy, and now I want cheese.
I don't. We ate so much food. I am not hungry. I ate a ton of food. You did not.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
I ate 8 rolls.
Oh my. That was a really dramatic oh my. I am convinced, though, that I did not double on that other roll. Like, once I started chewing, I was like, I have not had a cucumber. I just feel bad. Anyway.
No, you're fine.
Thank you. After learning about Enalius, who is the warrior that, like, took on everyone because he was like, I'm at a funnel and I can take you guys one by one. Nesta thinks about the warrior and she was like, wow, everyone remembers his name, kind of like Cassian. Quote, as Cassian's name would last through history, Nesta thought, would her own. Some small part of her wished for it. Nesta wants redemption now. Not just redemption, but salvation, like to go above and beyond. And she got a taste of it when it came to the history of the Valkyrie and, being part of that last chapter of the book. And honestly, she could have been like, well, my name went on too in that one chapter. She wants more. She wants her name to mean something like Cassian's.
And I think that's beautiful because it reminds us, wow, she wants to live. She wants to do more than survive. Also, in its own way, it's her wanting to be Cassian's equal.
Yeah.
To be remembered together, essentially, or separately, but as equals.
Yeah. Side note, Nesta observes how far away some of the soldiers are. Quote, not 500 yards away stood 6 males. I've recently discovered I understand what a yard is, what a foot is, figuring out the meters, but like I have no sense of like how far it is from me. I have a good sense of direction, 0 sense of distance. So when it was like 500 yards, I'm like, I don't know what that means. You can go on. I just need people to know.
Like 500 yards. Okay, I'll stop.
Well,
I was about to make
You're
references.
about to be like, well, that's however many feet. And we've already established there'll be times where I'm like, 700 feet, that's so far away.
It's 5 football fields or 5 soccer fields.
500 yards?
Yes, it's 500 meters.
Wait, how long is a football field?
100 yards.
Oh, I have 0 sense of distance. All right, well, this makes more sense now. I'm just kind of like outraged, but continue.
Now, despite being 5 football fields away, approximately, or 4, Nesta decides we got to intercept them. I'm sure they were coming closer and closer together as they're all going towards the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Quote, she altered her trajectory abruptly, and Emery and Gwyn moved with her as one. Now, I know that during all the training sequences, we read about Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn learning to move as a unit, and we're seeing that ultimately here. I do wish we'd seen more of it in practice. I wish we had seen them fighting in sequence in training.
Yeah.
Because I think that's necessary.
You're right. Sorry, but we never saw them do hand-to-hand amongst themselves. We saw Azriel and Cassian go hand-to-hand, as Cassian and Rhys, but we've never saw the wow. I don't know if I like that.
I do think it's missing.
Yeah.
And I do think that contributes to people's dislike of this sequence and not believing it.
Yeah.
We didn't see enough of them actually in action in training. Now, it's still badass. I think and I do actually think SJM wrote this well.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's accurate, but I think she wrote it well. Nesta's fighting, despite her fatigue, calls back to her love of music through the use of words of harmony and symphony. This is SJM's way of telling us that Nesta was born for this and that it aligns with who she is. Quote, each movement sang in perfect harmony with her breath. Each pivot of her body, her limbs, was part of a symphony. It's a lot like dancing, and we've talked a lot about fighting and dancing being the same. At the end of the encounter, Emery says, quote, Valkyries, eyes blazing bright. Nesta grinned through the blood she knew was splattered on her face. Hell yes. Smiling with blood on her face, A, badass, but B, also emphasizing the image of the women being in a role reversal right now. They're the ones who have assaulted the males. They are the ones who got their knuckles bloody. They're the ones who've come out on top.
Yeah. I'm so caught on the fact that like we haven't seen them actually physically train. I'm just very stuck on that because when I did MMA for 4 years, and the coach knew that I was strictly there for learning self-defense. And there was one move about getting out of a chokehold, and it was like very controlled because he was like, look, the first time you're going to get choked, you're going to freeze. And I was like, yeah, right. I've been practicing this. Like, I know the move. The first time I was choked, I froze. I had a big guy from behind put his arm around my neck and choked me out. And I just was like immediately freeze. And there's just some things that you don't know until you're attacked. But at the same time, because a lot of these priestesses were physically assaulted and some sexually, you really can't have Cassian and Azriel doing it, but then they can do it with each other. Just thoughts. I mean, you've got me spiraling. So good job. Now we're with Cassian, and Cassian says, in only so many words, the other whores that face Nesta and her friends, that they can be sexually assaulted as well. And Azriel reacts, quote, the shadows deepened around Azriel, his siphons gleaming like cobalt fire. I'm not saying that he's angry because he's in love with Gwyn, in case anyone's like, oh my God, he'll have that reaction to anyone. Yeah, no, I get that. What I would like to point out is that Azriel saved Gwyn before being assaulted again. Like, so he saved her right after she was assaulted by one soldier, and we find out the soldier is about to pass her on to another guy, and he comes in and saves her right before that moment. And I can't imagine what it's like to be Azriel thinking about the last time that he saved Gwen and how he can't be there to save her for this. So, and that does not coming from a romantic sense. I know I am team Gwenriel, but like this is just more of like a character development because we don't get much from Azriel. So take what we can get.
Yeah, and it's nice to see him protective of someone other than the inner circle. That like he feels a sense of, if nothing else, I wouldn't even call it obligation. I think he's protective of Gwen, and rightly so.
Yep.
At this point, Cassian and Azriel see Eris finally leave the Queen's castle in the human lands. Quote, riding atop a white horse at the front of the party, side by side with a hunched small figure, was Eris. Now, usually the color of horses is symbolic in SJM's books. We've pointed it out every time we've seen somebody on a horse. And so, you know, in some ways, the white horse, even though Cassian and Azriel are pissed at Eris, they assume the worst, the white probably is suggesting that he's innocent, he's under control. It reminds me of like a white flag of surrender.
Yeah.
If he was nefarious,
the horse would
be black.
Like it would have been described as like this giant, ominous black mare. You know what I mean? Like stallion. I don't know what a mare is. I don't know horses.
A mare would be a female horse.
I haven't met a horse in a long time.
Didn't you go horseback riding at the start of the year?
Last year.
Was it last year?
I know.
Where's my life gone?
Girl, I am asking the same thing.
Are you sure it wasn't this year?
Yeah. No, you good? You good, champ?
No. No.
If it helps, it wasn't even like during January because I thought it was like January of last year. It was like April or May or something like that. It was insanely not as early as I thought it was.
You had talked about doing it in January. That's why we assume it's in January.
Yeah. And then I waited several months. But either way, it was all last year.
That hurt my soul. Let's continue.
I'm going to meet a horse in a couple weeks.
Yay. Good for you.
I mean, we'll see. It's up for debate.
Everyone breathe. We'll be right back.
Nesta, Emery, and Gwen are all trying to cross the bridge. Gwen won't make it, so Nesta shoots a rope at her so that she can tie it around her waist. I'm not entirely sure of logistics because if you have time to tie something around your waist, run, I don't know, but she's also limping, so, whatever. I'm on board. Quote, we didn't learn archery, Emery breathed, but Nesta knocked the arrow in place, took aim right at Gwen, who eyed the rope tied to the arrow, the other end around the tree and Emery, and understood. My sister taught me. Nesta's arms trembled as she drew back the string a long time ago. It's so beautiful, it hurts. It's amazing that Farah is the one who taught Nesta this, and it is a skill that her sister taught her to save her other sister.
It is so beautiful. And what I really like about it is this idea that Nesta's calling on Farah's strength and knowledge to save Gwen just the same way that Nesta called on Cassian's strength and knowledge when she first woke up.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's in its own way meant to show how much love and appreciation Nesta has for Farah, even if she can't articulate that.
I agree. There's like a lot of subtext of respect for Farah. So our trio cross the bridge. Gwen gets pulled up by the rope and the men are mad. But what else is new? Quote, fucking bitches, one of the males roared. Oh, shut up, Emery bellowed across the ravine, helping Nesta lead Gwen into the snowy trees as their breaths puffed out before them. Find something new to call us. I love this because it's dismissing the claim, a name, a title. It's dismissing it. It reminds me like in high school when someone called me a whore or a slut. And I was like, I am the last virgin here. Your insult doesn't make sense. Like, we know that I'm the notorious prude here. Do better.
Yeah.
Our three ladies here, our three warriors, are at a crossroads. They have to decide whether to try to win the right or to leave. Quote, Gwen studied Ramiel's craggy, unforgiving slope. Not much snow graced its sides, like the wind had whipped it all away, or the snow had avoided its peak entirely. Is it living, though, to take the safe road? Surviving is not thriving. We've talked about that ever since season 1 with Farah and her surviving, not thriving. And honestly, the mountain represents the worst of life, right? It's craggy, unforgiving slopes, and it's cold and it's barely dusted with snow. And yet that is choosing life.
Mm-hmm. To continue this quote, Emery responds to Gwyn saying, "You're the one who's been in a library for 2 years." Gwyn didn't flinch. "I have, and I am tired of it." Going back to Jack's Rambo comment, for as much shit as I've given Gwyn in recent episodes, calling her kind of a caricature, this is the moment where I start to like her because she's the one who's been the most traumatized by men. She's the one who has the most excuse to not be able to get through this, to be paralyzed with fear, yet somehow she's coming across as the most resilient and the most ready to face the challenge. And it does allude to her trauma and why she feels guilty about her trauma, which we'll get to more in a moment. But I do love this about Gwyn, and it does make me want to get to know her more in future books.
Yeah. Well, wow. That was very big of you, Amy, to admit that. I feel like, though, if I was Nesta, I'd be like, we can go on vacation after. I promise you I can find you a different mountain for you to climb.
I promise living doesn't have to be today. It could be tomorrow.
We can still live going down the mountain, okay? Like, you want a mountain to climb? I'll get you a mountain, okay?
Let's go to that one. No one's going there.
That's a great mountain. It's a safe mountain. You can survive and live while choosing, a very comfortable place. I love that Nesta and co embrace that they are all something new and that they're entirely their own, right? They are not Valkyrie. They are not Illyrian. They are their own things. Quote, "To prove to them, to everyone, that something new and different might triumph over their rules and restrictions." Such a good line. Doesn't roll off the tongue for a tattoo, but I think that, there's something there. You guys should think about it. Someone go get that tattoo and let me know how it goes. Now, we're going into trigger warning zone. It's been big trigger warning, but it's to discuss Gwyn's backstory. And I'm going to start the conversation with just this one line. I don't really think we need to go into line by line what happened to her. So just this one part, quote, "That stone is a sign of holiness." And this is after she she tells Nesta and Emery about everything. And she thinks about the stone that the priestesses wear, quote, "The stone is a sign of holiness. How can someone like me wear it?" Oh, that's heavy.
What really stood out to me when she says this is the fact that she doesn't feel unholy or tainted because of what happened to her, because she was assaulted. She feels unholy and tainted because she feels like she's her sister's murderer.
Yeah.
She feels like she is to blame for her sister's death. That choice in and of itself, A, remarkable, B, important, right? It's so important that Gwyn's dislike of herself is not because she was assaulted.
Yeah.
It's because she feels guilt about her sister's death. That's an important distinction to me because I think it's easy to be like, I'm unholy because, and I'm not trying to mock it, but I think it is a more challenging mental gymnastics for Gwyn to have to overcome this idea that she made a choice that ultimately got her sister killed.
What I love about this distinction is that there are many women who have been assaulted, some that I know, who view themselves at blame, at fault. They don't view themselves as what they were before. They view themselves in a very harsh light when it absolutely does not reflect anything upon them in the slightest. And yet that is something that I do know a lot of survivors do. And to see Gwyn, this survivor, not blame herself for that, I think is a certain type of strength that I think some women might need to read in this moment. I think that it's like, the mental gymnastics, the everything, I think that there's someone out there who read this scene, who read Gwen not blaming herself because of the assault, but because she feels guilty for her sister's murder. And I would hope that that helped them kind of process their own.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's a better way of putting towards what I feel, which is Gwen's feelings on this, I hope, is a positive message to other survivors, because we've seen characters who feel the way other women feel, which is I'm tainted because of what has happened to me. It is refreshing, and I hope hopeful for others that Gwen is not the product of what happened to her. She is just sad and guilty for the responsibility she doesn't possess in her sister's death.
Yeah. I mean, no one is in control of what horrible, horrible men do. Don't put that blame, ownership. Like, no, you can't control that. And someone's actions does not define you in the slightest.
Yes.
And that's why, like, her guilt of her feeling her inaction of helping her sister is what she has the guilt towards. But yeah, other men's actions never speak on survivors. This is like one of those moments where it's like all beautiful and it's great. And it's like this, wonderful moment where they're just like, hands in, everyone tells their traumatic story, go team, right? It's also a little cheesy. I don't know. Like, it is one of those, like, it's so beautiful, it's cheesy. I would be a bad person to be in this moment because I think I would like ruin it with a joke and be like, oh, me? Okay, I go next. Wow. So Emery then gives her backstory and we learn more about her abusive father and what her mother went through.
Now, Emery tells them that her mother ultimately dies because of the abuse that her father dealt to her. And he then, quote, made me dig her grave on a night with a new moon and told people she'd miscarried a babe and died from blood loss. There is such cruel irony in the fact that Emery's mother dies because of her father's physical abuse, and it is explained away by something that should be beautiful and is inherently
tragic too.
Yes, tragic, but also is tied to the beauty of life, right?
Yeah.
It's tragic that a mother would miscarry. It's tragic that a mother would die from blood loss in miscarrying a child. But the intention was always good, right? The intention is to give birth to a child, bring life into the world. And that is tarnished by the lie of actually she was killed because of abuse. And it makes me so mad. And I know it's meant to make me mad. The fact that Emery's father covers up her mother's death with a miscarriage because it preserves his dignity.
Yeah.
And the family's dignity, right? But still also perpetuates the belief that women are weak inherently.
Yep.
And he uses that to cover up the shame of him being a
horrible
wife
piece of
beater.
shit. Yeah.
A piece of shit. It's just, the rage I feel every time I read that passage is intense.
Yeah. And so when Emery says, quote, I'll climb it for my mother, for her, I'll face the breaking and go as far as I can. It's women giving strength, the memory of it, right? It is her mother died, like in the lie of her being weak, like not being able to carry the birth, like, all the way through. It'll be, all erased with the truth of the strength of Emery and stuff. But
before we wrap up, Nesta relents into A, telling everybody her story, B, the demand that they all climb Ramiel. And like Jack said earlier, Gwen's like, we're going to do this because we're something new. We're not Valkyrie or Illyrian. We're going to prove that new things can be better than old fuddy-duddy traditions. And Nesta says, no, we win to prove to ourselves that it can be done. She bared her teeth in a feral grin at the mountain. We win the whole damn thing. And I love that this chapter ends on this note and this episode ends on this note because it's a really important message. And I think it's one that I've been getting a lot in my life within the last couple of weeks, which is you don't do the thing for the accolades others will give you.
Yeah.
You do the thing for the satisfaction of knowing you did it. And if you can be happy knowing you did it or with the process through which you did it, what anybody else thinks either doesn't fucking matter or it's just a cherry on top and you never needed it anyway.
Yep.
And I think that's an important message to walk away with, that Nesta, Gwyn, and Emery, they ultimately choose to do the hard thing. Like, everyone would be thrilled with the fact that they lived, would be amazed with the fact that they got to the base of Ramiel.
They even got to the base of the mountain. Like, they already did better than most of the Illyrians there.
Yes. Yes. And in next week's episode, Emery is going to say, I have walked where my ancestors have never.
Yeah.
I am where my ancestors have never walked before.
Yeah.
That's amazing in and of itself. And yet they're like, you know what? I think we fucking can. And I want to. And that's powerful.
I have full faith that we would get to this point, look at each other and go, sushi?
I think I'm good.
I think we're good. I don't need to. Like, we would absolutely, like, if you want to, I'll do it. But like,
if I was in my 20s, I would want to do it.
No.
In my 30s, I've proved enough to myself that I don't need to anymore.
So much. I am ready to hang up my hat in many regards. I have proven myself. I'm tired.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very tired. All right. So, to end today's episode, Jack, does the emotional climax of the blood rite match the physical climax of the story?
Yes and no. I think when it comes to our three leading ladies, or Nesta, Emery, Gwyn, yes. There's great physical climax, like they're out here fighting, you know, they reach to this emotional point. Like, physically, they fought their way to get to this emotional climax, right? Like, this confessional circle truth moment wouldn't have happened at the beginning of this journey, or even, 2 days before, if, in Emery's house, right? It needed to happen after they have been stripped away of their clothing, been stripped away of their innocence, been stripped away of their first kill, of danger, of coming together and having to go through, the last 24 hours harder than anything they've ever gone through. And they've only had themselves to protect and take care of for the first time in their life. They haven't had anyone be there for them, right? So physically, this absolutely gets us to this amazing climax of before they go in the mountain. What puts a little wedge in it is Cassian's point of view. I think this is the one part where, and SJM does a great job of really only going in when she needs to, and she does not loiter or linger there. The whole Eris storyline starts to get a little confusing. And then next week, we're going to have a lot of things to say. Like, the fact that next week's the last episode and we have Cassian being taken over, fighting with Nesta going to save Farah. I'm like, that's happening all in one episode? Really?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of the dual POV, I think, hurts this emotional buildup.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have this emotional buildup, this emotional, terror, this everything. And then we get brought to Cassian's point of view, and he's just not there. And it's not knocking SJM down. It's not knocking him down. He is not in this right. He can't be there emotionally. Mm-hmm. So when we get to his part, it takes us out of the emotional climax.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wish that as an author, obviously, I am not SJM level. I might never be SJM level. However, if I could redo Silver Flames or give her some
pointers.
Pointers. Can we write a second edition but change this one little bit?
I agree.
I wish Cassian had been captured by Briellen before Nesta goes into the blood rite.
Ooh, yeah.
I wish he had been, and it would make sense why the inner circle's attention is then divided.
Yeah.
Because it's shit, we can't do anything about Nesta, and Cassian's fucking over here, captured, possibly under control. What the fuck are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And then we don't need his point of view at all.
No.
Throughout the blood rite until he shows up on the mountain.
I think that's great. You fixed it.
I think so too.
The thing is, it wouldn't have taken anything and only advanced it. It wouldn't have taken away any moments or wow, but if we had just seen Cassian, the only thing it would have taken away would be the, Cassian being I wouldn't be able to take this from her. She needs, even if I could save her, she needs to do this on her own.
That could have been a conversation later, to be honest.
I also don't think this blood right needed to be the thing to prove that. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I would just be like, wow, babe, you want me to show that I can do something on my own? What about getting a smog check? What about changing my headlights? Those are two things that I need to do that I don't plan on doing on my own. But like, if you want me to show that I don't need you, like, I don't think the blood right is the moment.
I'm just sitting here being like, I can change your lights.
No, it's
and
the
I know
principle.
you have a different plan, but I'm like, it's not that hard.
I have a different path in this world. Look, you and I both know that there is a 50% chance that next weekend we will be doing this, changing my light. And I'm going to be sitting there recording you, hyping you up, and you're going to be like, it's not that hard. And I'll be like, the thing is, I know I could probably go YouTube it and do it. I have proven enough. Tired, Grandpa.
This is the Ramiel I die on. I will fucking change your headlights. When you take Emma's car and change her battery, I'll do both at the same time. Just meet in the AutoZone parking lot.
All my ladies, get over here. I'm changing it for you. This is your Ramiel. What?
This
Everyone
is my
needs to have
Ramiel.
their
I'm not
Ramiel.
letting
It's
no man do this for me.
The hill that they die on, the thing that they're willing to go to the distance for.
Yeah.
And, it's fine if some of us can't think of their hill immediately. I just will keep cruising at life. That's fine. All right, let's wrap this up. Thanks for listening to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. Join us Wednesday for our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks discussion from today's chapters from Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Silver Flames.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. And don't forget to join us as we keep the analysis going by subscribing to our Substack to get more insights into the romantasy and romance genres. Head to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com. Bye.
Bye.
Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use. When I moved in with my partner is when I realized how much effort she puts into her skincare. She spends so much time and money just on what she puts on her skin. But the one thing she doesn't invest in is our bedding.
Well, that's because you're now investing in it with Boll and Branch.
From their organic cotton sheets to their breathable pillows and comforters, Boll and Branch makes their bedding with ultra clean materials that are gentle on the skin and free from harsh chemicals.
Boll and Branch really feels like my first grown-up sheets. And you can really feel the difference with their signature sheet sets. Remember, these sheets are touching you for up to 8 hours every single night. You're going to want to have the best sheets possible. Have you noticed that the pockets of the fitted sheets are perfect for forming around the mattress?
This is the first set of sheets that I haven't had to help my partner put them on the bed because the pockets are too small. They are so easy to get on the bed.
These are honestly the first pair of sheets that I have that I don't wake up with my sheets halfway wrapped around me. They are durable, they are soft, and the longer you use them, the softer they become.
Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/booktalk with code BOOKTALK, BOOKTALK.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/BOOKTALK, and use code BOOKTALK to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. Amy, we were just in New York for BookCon, and did you notice that all of the New York girlies were wearing Quince?
You're so right. They were stylish, street appropriate, but also business casual.
It's amazing how I was spotting some of Quince's staple pieces on the street. I can always spot one of their Mongolian cashmeres from a mile away because it's always so soft and so nice. Quince really spends time on making sure they give you the best quality clothing they can with premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra soft denim.
Their styles make getting dressed simpler. They make me feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together with tops that start at just $30. You can't beat that for work.
Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup.
Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/booktalk.